Hello everyone. Welcome once again to the Self-Knowledge course. Today we have a very interesting conference, which is the continuation of the two previous topics. In the past two conferences we have been talking about the mountains of initiation, or the three works that we must do to achieve the intimate self-realization of our being. Today we will see the latest work. We will talk about the mountain in which the aspects of love in us will completely develop and merge, and in which love will be integrated with wisdom, reaching total liberation as immortal beings. With this work we will become absolute men, divine sparks that can always move freely through the universe, because they are the gods of the universe. That is the path that we are proposing and teaching in this course, and that we have been developing in these conferences. In the work of the first mountain, the mountain of Genesis, or birth through the waters, we saw that we all start with 3% of free consciousness, and 97% of essence trapped and conditioned by the ego. We begin working with the three factors for the revolution of consciousness, and we begin to use the Trinity, fair, useful and true, to apply it as a filter to achieve the quaternary. Those are the four rights that will allow us to save our energy: right thinking, right feeling, right acting and right speaking. With this process, the saving and purification of our energy will occur, and as a consequence, the lighting of the sacred fire in our spine, which will make possible the regeneration and creation of our solar bodies. We will go from being simple rational animals to being true men, with a five-fold internal constitution. We will become that powerful five-pointed star that represents the authentic man. If at that point, when the decision of the path is presented before us, we choose the direct path, then the human soul, which is represented as a triangle that goes up, will unite with the divine soul, the triangle that goes down, giving rise to the perfect matrimony, represented in the six-pointed star. From that union, the intimate Christ will be born. We finished the first mountain with approximately 84% of awakened consciousness. The triad that is made up of Manas, the human soul, Buddhi, the divine soul, and Atman, the intimate, which makes up our spirit, will develop in the work of the second mountain. The work of the second mountain, that we studied last week, which is the mountain of death and purification through fire, the mountain of the apocalypse, begins with the Christmas of the heart. This is the birth within us of the intimate Christ, who is the fire of fire, the flame of the flame, that revolutionary force that comes to do all the work of the second mountain, that entails the creation of the seven bodies of gold, and the opening of the seven churches of wisdom. That work is represented in the seven-pointed star. Once the point of creating of the causal body of gold has been reached, the inner Christ will begin to internally live the entire process of the way of the cross. He must be crucified, he must pay the hard karma for 8 years, eliminate the 7 causal selves, thus eliminating the totality of the ego. And after going down 3 days to hell, which are the infradimensions on this planet, to do that work of eliminating all his ego, he resurrects as an immortal being, without a trace of the ego, and already with 99% of consciousness. The remaining 1% is the cosmic consciousness, that will be integrated during the work of the third mountain, that we will see today. So, the third mountain is the mystical death of 2 laws to merge into 1 law. This is a work dedicated to the sacrifice for humanity, since the master who reaches these heights must take charge of the responsibility of the world teaching. That is, the responsibility of making sure that the knowledge is maintained in the planet, and to find a disciple who remains in charge of the knowledge, so that he can enter the absolute and stay. For some it will be very easy to do it, because they already have their advanced disciple. But others will have to start doing it. That work can last up to centuries or millions of years. The third mountain is done without the physical couple. The physical marriage goes until death separates them. And what death? The death of the entire ego. And this is done when finishing the second mountain. At the end of the second mountain, after the death of the causal ego, we remain converted into serpent men. Here we must recover the remaining 1% of consciousness, and start creating the bodies of light. The fire serpent, which is the Christ, must unite with the Holy Spirit, thus becoming an Elohim. In this mountain, the Master is already an androgynous being. This is the beginning of the third mountain. The bodies of light are going to be created in this mountain with the divine soul. This bodies should be created so that the Father, who is pure light, can enter the person. These are called the initiations of light. This is already an initiate of light, because the causal ego has died in its entirety. The initiate has had to eliminate it 100%. He then becomes the beloved Son of the Father, a son of light. He who reaches this total Christification becomes a child of light and love, because he is a universal and cosmic force, conscious at all times, without losing individuality. These are the children of light, those who become totally Christified, who don't have a stain left inside or outside, not even the shadow of the ego. That is when he can return to the bosom of the Father, full of absolute happiness, and with full freedom, because it is an authentic freedom. He reaches immortality, where he can keep his vehicles without being subject to laws or time. That is why Jesus has his physical body, with all the existential bodies of being outside of time. His bodies has nothing to do with time because they will always be young, and as he wants to turn them, because he has the power of ubiquity. That is why the symbol of the great sepulchre and the symbol of the great cross, with its crown full of precious, living stones, which is the total culmination of the third mountain. The symbol of the sepulchre, or the coffin, is for the death that the initiate has to pass, to later crucify himself as a Christ, and put on the great crown, which symbolizes the crown of King of Kings. The symbol of the grave is the symbol of when the two forces die to be born as unit. At this point it is still a trinity, and as a trinity, one cannot enter the absolute. Then, after the Christ merges with the Holy Spirit, which are two of the three aspects of love, or Mother God, the third aspect of the Mother must merge, which is the Lucifer, the psychological trainer. The serpent must coil to form the O of the Spirit, or God the Mother. The Christ defeats the dragon, Lucifer, in all temptations and merges with him. Since the Christ has already eliminated the causal ego, Lucifer no longer has anyone to tempt. And then God the Mother remains, which is the love fully integrated. But the force of the Father, the wisdom, the cosmic consciousness still remain outside. At that point, he has become a perfect duality, but as a duality he cannot enter the absolute either. You must return as a unit. Then, when the creation of the bodies of light is finished, the two laws are absorbed into one, and it remains united to the great law, connected to the absolute directly by the great law. That is the symbol of the Aztecs of the eagle swallowing the serpent. The eagle is God the Father, and the serpent that bites its tail is God the Mother. They merge to reach unity and total liberation. The absolute cannot be described because it is from where the creation and everything that exists depends. It is out of law because it is the great law. In such a way that everything leaves and returns to the absolute. The monads leave the absolute unconscious, and when carrying out this work, they have to return to the absolute with 100% of consciousness, to be part of the great consciousness, and to enjoy absolute happiness. In order to have the right to remain in the absolute, the initiate must have left a disciple on the path already working, in order to afford to disappear. As long as he doesn't leave a disciple, an initiate who has chosen the direct path, and is making his consciousness revolution with the three factors, he cannot enter the absolute to stay definitively, but has to enter and leave. And well, this has been today's conference. The masters do not give us more details about this, because the disciple has to discover for himself the triumphs, the payments, and everything that the conscious hierarchies are going to give him for his great sacrifices. Here you can see a synthesis of the three mountains. On the first mountain we are going to rise from the fallen state by creating the physical, vital, astral, mental, and causal solar bodies to achieve a human soul. On the second mountain, the secondary triad, also known as the spirit, will develop. This triad is Manas, Buddhi, and Atman, or the causal, Buddhic and Atmic bodies, which are also our human soul, our divine soul, and our Christic principle. On the third mountain, the integration of the primary triad will take place, that is the force of the Holy Spirit, the Son, and the Father to become an absolute man. These 10 aspects that you can see here are the same Sephirot of Kabbalah, or the 10 self-conscious parts that make up our being, and that with inner work we will integrate. In the next conference we will be studying a very interesting topic, titled, For Classes of Hanasmusen. There we will understand what a Hanasmusen is, and we will talk about the need to stop having a double center of gravity and define ourselves on this path. Don't miss that interesting topic.